6 months ago, a 42-year-old woman sat across from her sister at their family's mahogany dining table, eating soup that had been carefully poisoned with arsenic, completely unaware that the only person she trusted with her life had been methodically planning her murder since the day their father's will was read. While Lily Chen smiled at her younger sister's concerned questions about her mysterious illness, Victoria sat there, hands steady around her own bowl, watching, waiting, counting down the weeks until the inheritance would finally be hers alone. But what Victoria didn't know, what she couldn't possibly have known, was that Lily had been switching their plates for the last 2 months. Every carefully poisoned meal Victoria prepared was ending up in Victoria's own stomach. And now, as Victoria's own health began to deteriorate in ways she couldn't explain, Lily watched her sister's confusion with the calm patience of someone who had already died once and came back with a plan. "My name is Lily Chen, and I'm about to tell you how my own sister tried to kill me for $8 million, and how I made sure she poisoned herself instead." The law offices of Morrison & Associates smelled like old leather and older money. I sat in one of those chairs that cost more than most people's cars, watching my father's attorney, Robert Morrison, shuffle through documents with the kind of careful slowness that made my stomach turn. Dad had been gone for 3 weeks. Pancreatic cancer took him fast, which was a mercy. But sitting here now, watching Robert's face as he prepared to read the will, I felt anything but merciful. "Before we begin," Robert said, his reading glasses perched on his nose, "I want you both to know that your father spent considerable time on these arrangements. He loved you both very much." I glanced at Victoria sitting beside me. My baby sister, 38 years old, dressed in black, dabbing at tears that seemed just a little too perfectly timed. We'd never been close, not really. 20-year age gap will do that. By the time she was learning to walk, I was already in college. By the time she graduated high school, I was running Dad's tech company, Chen Digital Solutions. "To my daughter Victoria," Robert read, "I leave the family home in Pacific Heights, the vacation property in Lake Tahoe, and a trust fund of $2 million, to be distributed in quarterly installments." Victoria's face remained neutral, but I saw her jaw tighten slightly. "To my daughter Lily," Robert continued, and I felt my heart start to race. "I leave Chen Digital Solutions in its entirety, including all assets, intellectual property, and holdings, currently valued at approximately $8 million. Additionally, I leave her my personal investment portfolio, valued at $1.5 million, and my art collection." The silence in the room was deafening. "He left you the company." Victoria's voice was barely above a whisper. "Victoria, your father's reasoning was clear," Robert interjected quickly. "Lily has been running Chen Digital for 15 years. She built it from a startup into what it is today. My father felt that I wasn't good enough." Victoria stood up abruptly. "That I wasn't smart enough, wasn't business-minded enough. That I was just the accident baby who came along when he was 50. "That's not fair," I said, standing too. "Dad loved you. He gave you the properties. He gave you financial security. He gave you everything that matters." Victoria grabbed her purse, her hands shaking. "The company Dad and I used to visit together when I was little. The company where I did my first internship. But sure, give it all to perfect Lily, who spent her whole life making sure I knew I was second best." "Victoria, wait." But she was already gone, her heels clicking down the marble hallway like gunshots. Robert sighed heavily. "I was afraid of this." "Did Dad say anything about why he structured it this way?" "He said you earned it. Every day for 15 years you earned it." Robert handed me a sealed envelope. "He also left you this. Private. He said to open it only if Victoria contested the will." I took the envelope, feeling its weight. "Do you think she will?" "Your father thought she might." Robert's expression was grave. "Which is why he made sure everything was ironclad. The will can't be contested successfully. He had 3 separate psychiatric evaluations done in his final months to prove he was of sound mind. He knew what he was doing, Lily." That night I sat alone in my apartment overlooking the San Francisco Bay, Dad's envelope unopened on my coffee table. Victoria had sent me 12 text messages, each one angrier than the last. The final one simply said, You took everything from me. Remember that. I should have seen it then. The warning sign. The threat hiding in plain sight. But grief makes you stupid. Grief makes you want to believe that family is still family, even when the inheritance lawyer is warning you about contested wills and psychiatric evaluations. 2 weeks later, Victoria showed up at my apartment with takeout and tears. "I'm sorry," she said, standing in my doorway with Thai food and red eyes. "I was awful. I was grieving and angry, and I took it out on you. Can we talk? Please? What was I supposed to do?" She was my sister, my only living family, so I let her in. "I've been thinking a lot about what Dad wanted," Victoria said, sitting on my couch, opening containers of pad thai and tom yum soup. "And you're right. You did build that company. You earned it. I was just hurt that he didn't think I could help." "You can help," I said, relief flooding through me. Victoria Chun Digital is a family company. Just because I'm CEO doesn't mean there's no place for you. We could use someone in business development, or really. Her face lit up. "You'd want me there?" "Of course. You're my sister." She hugged me then, tight and fierce. "Thank you. Thank you for not shutting me out." We ate together that night, talking about Dad, about memories, about the future. She left around 10, promising to come by the office next week to discuss a role. I fell asleep feeling better than I had in weeks. Like maybe, just maybe, family could survive money after all. I woke up at 3 in the morning vomiting so violently I thought my stomach would tear itself apart. The room spun. My skin felt like it was on fire. I barely made it to the bathroom before everything I'd eaten came back up, burning my throat like acid. It took 6 hours in the emergency room, 2 bags of 4 fluids, and a battery of tests before the doctor came back with results. "Severe food poisoning," Dr. Patel said, reviewing my charts. "Probably from shellfish. The tom yum soup maybe? These things happen. You'll feel terrible for a few days, but you'll recover." I went home weak, dehydrated, and stupid. Because even then, even with my body screaming that something was wrong, I didn't see it. Victoria came by 3 days later with more food. "I felt so guilty," she said, setting down bags from my favorite Italian place. "I thought maybe the Thai place made us both sick, but I felt fine." "Must have been something only you ate." "Must have been," I agreed, my stomach still tender. We ate together again. Chicken marsala, Caesar salad, tiramisu for dessert. She stayed for hours, talking about her ideas for the company, about how excited she was to work together. 3 days later, I was back in the emergency room, same symptoms, worse this time. Vomiting, muscle cramps, my heart racing like it wanted to escape my chest. "Food poisoning again." Dr. Patel frowned at my chart. "Lily, that's unusual, twice in 1 week." "I have a sensitive stomach," I lied, not knowing why I was lying. "Maybe, but I'm going to run some additional tests." This isn't normal. That's when my phone buzzed. Victoria texting. "Hope you're feeling better. Want me to bring dinner tomorrow? My treat." And something inside me went cold. I thought about the Thai food. The Italian food. Both times Victoria bringing meals. Both times getting violently ill hours later. Both times her watching me eat with those concerned, loving eyes. No, that was crazy. That was grief and paranoia talking. Victoria was my sister. She wouldn't, but Dad's envelope sat unopened in my apartment. And Robert's words echoed in my head. He made sure everything was ironclad. He knew what he was doing. What if Dad knew something I didn't? What if there was a reason he'd protected the will so carefully? I texted Victoria back. "Thanks, but I think I need to eat bland food for a while. Doctor's orders." Her response came immediately. "Of course." "Feel better?" The heart emoji felt like a threat. That night, I opened Dad's envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a single letter, dated 2 weeks before he died. "My dearest Lily, if you're reading this, then Victoria has done something that made you suspicious. Trust your instincts. Your sister came to see me 6 months before my diagnosis, asking about the will, about the company's value, about whether I'd consider selling. When I told her I was leaving everything to you, her face changed. I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Something cold. I pray I'm wrong. I pray this letter is unnecessary paranoia from a dying man. But if I'm right, if she's shown you who she really is, then protect yourself. Document everything. Trust no one but yourself. And remember, you are stronger than you know. Love always, Dad. My hands were shaking so hard the paper rattled. Dad had known. 6 months before he died, he'd known Victoria might try something. But poisoning? That was insane. That was murder. My own sister wouldn't. My phone buzzed again. Victoria. Hey, I was thinking. Since you're not feeling well, why don't I start coming over more? I could cook for you, take care of you until you're better. That's what family does, right? I stared at that message for a long time. At the offer to cook for me. To take care of me. To slowly, systematically, lovingly poison me until my body gave out, and the inheritance, all of it, would go to the next of kin. My baby sister. The girl I taught to ride a bike. The woman who'd stood beside me at Dad's funeral, holding my hand while we buried the only parent we had left. She was trying to kill me, and I had no proof, no evidence. Nothing but a father's warning and a gut feeling and 2 trips to the emergency room. I typed back. That would be wonderful. You're the best. Because if Victoria wanted to play this game, if she wanted to poison her way to $8 million, then I needed to know for sure. I needed evidence. And I needed a plan. What I didn't know yet was that I had approximately 4 months before the arsenic in my system reached lethal levels. 4 months to prove my sister was a murderer. 4 months to figure out how to make her poison herself instead. But that revelation was still 2 weeks away, when I'd finally get smart enough to save samples of Victoria's cooking and send them to a private lab. For now, I just smiled at my phone and waited for my sister to bring me dinner again. Because Victoria Chen thought she was hunting me. But she had no idea that the prey was about to become the predator. And the scariest part, a small voice in the back of my mind whispered that maybe, just maybe, I'd always known this day would come. Maybe I'd always known that blood wasn't thicker than money, and that my baby sister had been looking at me with calculation in her eyes for years. I just hadn't wanted to see it. Until now, when seeing it was the only thing keeping me alive. If you're wondering how this story ends, how a woman poisons her own attempted murderer, then stay tuned. Because the next 6 months were about to teach me something important. The best revenge isn't served hot or cold. It's served on your sister's own plate, with a smile and a side of perfect, poetic justice. The private lab results came back on a Tuesday afternoon, delivered in a plain manila envelope that weighed almost nothing but felt like it could crush me. I sat in my car outside Chen Digital's headquarters, hands trembling as I read words that would change everything. Sample A, pasta sauce. Arsenic trioxide detected. Concentration, 4.2 milligrams per serving. Sample B, soup. Arsenic trioxide detected. Concentration, 3.8 milligrams per serving. Note: these levels are consistent with intentional poisoning over extended periods. Immediate medical attention recommended. 4 milligrams. That's all it took. 4 milligrams of white powder, tasteless and odorless, stirred into marinara sauce by hands that had held mine at our father's funeral. I sat there for 20 minutes, watching employees walk into the building I'd built from nothing, and tried to process that my sister, my blood, my family had been feeding me poison like it was love. My phone buzzed. Victoria? Lunch today? I'm making your favorite, my special chicken noodle soup. I'll bring it by the office at 1. You need to keep your strength up, sis. The heart emoji made my stomach turn. Or maybe that was the arsenic still working its way through my system. I texted back. Can't wait. You're taking such good care of me. Then I called Dr. Patel's office and made an emergency appointment. Arsenic! Dr. Patel's face went pale as she reviewed the lab results I'd brought. Lily, this is attempted murder. You need to go to the police immediately. With what proof? Private lab results from food I can't prove my sister made, that I can't even prove she gave me? I shook my head. She's careful. She brings the food in containers from restaurants. Claims she picked it up on the way. Any decent lawyer would shred that in court. Then, what are you going to do? I thought about Dad's letter. About Victoria's face when the will was read. About the $8 million that would pass to her the moment I died without children, without a spouse, without anyone else to inherit Chun Digital. I'm going to get proof. Real, undeniable proof. I met Dr. Patel's eyes. And I need your help. I need chelation therapy to get the arsenic out of my system, but I need you to keep it confidential. If Victoria knows I'm being treated, she know I'm onto her. That's extremely irregular. My sister is poisoning me. Nothing about this situation is regular. Dr. Patel was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Twice a week. Cash only. No insurance records, and Lily, be careful. People who poison family members don't usually stop until the job is done. The chelation treatment started that Friday. Twice a week, I'd slip away to a private clinic across the bay. Let them pump my blood full of chemicals that would bind to the arsenic and flush it out. It bought me time. But time to do what? I started documenting everything. Every text message Victoria sent. Every meal she brought. I bought a small spy camera disguised as a pen and kept it in my shirt pocket whenever she visited. I saved every container, every scrap of food, labeling them with dates and sending samples to 3 different labs for testing. But mostly, I watched. And the more I watched Victoria, the more I saw the cracks in her performance. You look tired, she said one afternoon, sitting in my office with containers of pad see ew from that same Thai place. Are you sleeping okay? Not really. The stomach issues keep waking me up. Maybe you should see a specialist. Get your gut checked out. Her voice dripped with concern. But her eyes were calculating something. Have you thought about taking a leave of absence from the company? Just until you're feeling better? There it was. The first push toward incapacity. Toward me stepping away from Chun Digital while I was sick, leaving the door open for Victoria to slide in. To start making decisions, to position herself as the obvious successor when I inevitably died. Actually, I'm thinking the opposite, I said, watching her face carefully. I'm planning to promote Jenny Chen to Q next week. She's not family, but she's brilliant. Been with us since the beginning. If anything happens to me, I want to make sure the company is in good hands. Victoria's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. That seems sudden. Dad always said to plan for the unexpected. I smiled. He was big on succession planning, remember? Right. Victoria set down her fork. But Jenny's not family. Wouldn't it make more sense to bring in someone with a stake in preserving Dad's legacy? Someone like, I don't know, your sister. Are you offering? I mean, if you need help, I'll keep that in mind. I took a deliberate bite of the pad see ew, watching Victoria's face relax slightly as she watched me eat her poison. What she didn't see was me earlier that morning, spending 2 hours in the Chun Digital test kitchen, asking our food safety consultant to teach me about arsenic poisoning. Learning that the white powder looked exactly like cornstarch. Learning that it was used in rat poison, in wood preservatives, in a dozen household products that Victoria could have easily obtained. Learning, most importantly, that it was cumulative. That every dose built up in the system. That Victoria wasn't trying to kill me quickly, she was trying to make it look like natural illness, mysterious stomach problems, gradual organ failure. The kind of death that wouldn't raise suspicions because I'd been sick for months. Smart, methodical, patient, just like Dad had taught us. That night, I went through Dad's files looking for something I knew had to be there. Victoria hadn't suddenly become a murderer at 38. There had to be signs, warnings I'd missed. I found them in Dad's private journals, tucked away in a safe deposit box I'd inherited. Victoria came to me today asking about life insurance policies. She wanted to know if I had any that named her as beneficiary. When I asked why, she said she was worried about being left with nothing if something happened to me. She's 36. Why is she so focused on my death? 3 years ago, caught Victoria in my office going through financial documents. She claimed she was looking for family photos. I changed all my passwords. 2 years ago. Victoria asked me again about the company valuation. 3rd time this month. I told her it's not for sale. She got angry. Accused me of loving Lily more. Maybe I do. Maybe that's my failure as a father. 18 months ago, Dad had seen it. The obsession with money. The fixation on inheritance. The gradual shift from daughter to predator. And he'd tried to protect me the only way he knew how. Ironclad will, psychiatric evaluations, that letter. But he hadn't expected her to move this fast. To start poisoning me within weeks of his death. I was still reading when my phone rang. Victoria, calling at 11 at night. Hey, sorry to bother you so late. I was just worried, you seemed off today. I'm fine. Just tired. I know you don't want to hear this, but Lily, I really think you should see a doctor. These stomach problems have been going on for months now. What if it's something serious? What if it's... Her voice caught, perfectly performed grief creeping in. What if it's what Dad had? What if cancer runs in the family? There it was, planting seeds. Making everyone around me think I was dying of natural causes. So when I finally collapsed, when my organs finally failed from months of arsenic accumulation, everyone would nod sadly and say, "Well, she'd been sick for so long. At least she's not suffering anymore. I'll make an appointment," I lied. Good, because I can't lose you too. You're all the family I have left. After she hung up, I sat in the darkness of Dad's study, surrounded by his journals and his warnings and his desperate attempts to save me from beyond the grave. And I made a decision. I couldn't go to the police. Not yet, not without proof that would hold up in court. Not without evidence so overwhelming that no jury would doubt what Victoria had done. But I could do something else, something Victoria would never expect. I could switch our plates. The next day I went shopping. Not at regular stores, but at specialty shops that sold to magicians and street performers. I bought fake containers that looked identical to the ones Victoria used. I bought a chemistry set. I practiced for hours in my apartment, learning to palm objects, to make switches so smooth the eye couldn't catch them. I studied Victoria's patterns. She always brought food in those same biodegradable containers from high-end restaurants. She always set them on my desk while she talked, gesturing, distracting. She always opened the containers herself, commenting on how good everything smelled, playing the role of concerned sister. But she never ate from the same container as me. Always claimed she'd eaten already. Was on a diet. Had already had lunch. There were 1,000 excuses, and I'd believed every one. Not anymore. The plan was simple, elegant, and absolutely insane. Let Victoria keep bringing poisoned food. But somewhere between the desk and my mouth, switch the containers. Let her watch me eat the clean food I prepared that morning. Let her eat the poison she'd so carefully measured out for me. It would take weeks. Months, maybe. The same gradual accumulation she'd planned for me. But eventually, Victoria would start to feel what I'd felt. The stomach cramps, the vomiting, the weakness, the confusion. And when she went to doctors asking what was wrong, I'd be there. Concerned older sister. Suggesting specialists. Running tests. Documenting her deterioration, just like she'd done to me. The first switch happened on a Wednesday. Victoria brought Vietnamese food pho and spring rolls. She set the containers on my desk, talking about a guy she'd started dating, about how happy she was, about how everything was finally coming together. While she talked, I made the switch. Smooth as silk. The poisoned pho went into my bag. The clean pho I'd prepared that morning took its place. "This smells amazing," I said, taking a bite of my clean food. "You always know what I need." Victoria smiled, watching me eat. That's what sisters are for. She stayed for an hour, chatting, laughing, being the perfect concerned sibling. When she left, I sat alone with her poisoned pho, staring at it like it was a live grenade. Then I divided it into 3 samples. One for the lab, one for evidence. One that I very carefully, very deliberately, reheated and put into a clean container identical to the ones Victoria used. 3 days later, Victoria brought Chinese food. "Hey sis, thought you might want some comfort food. I got your favorite General Tso's chicken." She set the containers on my desk, then pulled out her phone. "Oh damn, work emergency. Do you mind if I take this call?" "I'll be right back." The moment she stepped into the hallway, I made the switch. Her poison General Tso's went into my bag. My prepared meal with her previous poison went into the container on my desk. When Victoria came back, I was eating happily. Crisis averted? Yeah, just client drama. She glanced at the container. Is it good? Delicious? Want some? I held out the container, her poison from 3 days ago, just starting its slow accumulation in her system. Oh, I shouldn't. I'm trying to watch my carbs, but I saw her hesitate, saw her glance at the chicken with genuine hunger. Come on, one bite won't kill you, I said, and managed not to choke on the irony. Victoria laughed and took the fork from my hand. She ate a piece of chicken, chewed, swallowed. Okay, that is really good. Maybe one more. Take the rest, I said, pushing the container toward her. I'm getting full anyway. Stomach still sensitive, remember? If you're sure, ... double quotes, Victoria didn't need more convincing. She ate half the container while telling me about her new boyfriend, about vacation plans, about life insurance policies she was thinking of buying. Life insurance? I asked carefully. Well, yeah. We're not getting any younger, Lily, and after what happened to Dad ... double quotes, she shrugged. I just want to make sure I'm taken care of if something happens. You should think about it too. Maybe I will. What Victoria didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that she'd just eaten 3.8 milligrams of arsenic trioxide. Her own poison, carefully saved and reheated. The first dose of many. Over the next month, I perfected the switch. Every meal Victoria brought, I swapped. Every container of her poison became my evidence in her next dose. The arsenic chelation therapy cleared my system while Victoria's filled up. And slowly, beautifully, inevitably, Victoria started to get sick. I've been feeling awful lately, she told me one afternoon, looking genuinely pale. Stomach problems. Nausea. Kind of like what you had. Maybe we ate at the same contaminated restaurant, I suggested innocently. You should see a doctor. Yeah, maybe. But I could see the wheels turning in her head. See her wondering if her own poisoning schedule was off. If she'd accidentally exposed herself to the arsenic somehow. If she needed to be more careful. She had no idea that careful didn't matter anymore. That every meal she brought me was another dose for herself. That her own plan was slowly, methodically, destroying her from the inside out. And the best part? I had everything documented. Every container, every lab result, every text message. A timeline that would show Victoria's poisoning started after mine stopped. Evidence that would prove, beyond any doubt, that she was the one bringing poisoned food into my office. But I wasn't done yet. Because Victoria needed to suffer more than just physical illness. She needed to lose what she'd tried to kill me for: money, status, control. And that meant it was time to bring in the one person who could help me destroy her completely. Marcus Webb, the attorney who'd helped Dad write his ironclad will. The man who'd been my father's friend for 30 years, and who I was about to discover had been investigating Victoria long before Dad ever died. But that conversation, that revelation, would have to wait until Victoria's next visit. Because I heard her heels clicking down the hallway, heard her bright, cheerful voice calling my name, heard her coming with what I knew would be another carefully poisoned meal. Only this time I wasn't the prey. This time I was the trap, and my sister was walking right into it with a smile on her face and murder in her heart, not knowing she'd been eating her own poison for weeks, not knowing her body was already shutting down, not knowing that everything she'd planned for me was happening to her instead. Marcus Webb's law office occupied the top floor of a building in the financial district, with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the entire bay. I'd been here before, years ago when Dad first brought me in to discuss succession planning. Back then, I was 27 and terrified of failing him. Now I was 42 and terrified of my own sister. Your father anticipated this, Marcus said, sliding a thick folder across his desk. He was 63, silver-haired, with eyes that had seen every variety of human greed. Not the poisoning specifically, but Victoria's tendencies. I opened the folder. Inside were private investigator reports dating back 5 years, bank statements showing Victoria's mounting debts. Credit cards maxed out. A failed business venture in Miami that had cost her $300,000 of her own money. Screenshots of conversations with a life coach who specialized in manifestation and abundance, apparently code for teaching desperate people how to justify stealing from family. Dad knew about all this. He hired me to look into it after Victoria came to him asking for a $500,000 loan. Said it was for real estate investment. Turned out she owed that much to some very unfriendly people in Las Vegas. Marcus pulled out another document. Your father paid off her debts. All of them. On the condition that she never ask him for money again and never tell you what happened. He was protecting her. He was protecting you both. But when he got sick, when he knew time was running out, he made me promise something. Marcus's voice dropped. He made me promise that if Victoria ever came after you, if she ever tried to take what wasn't hers, I would help you bury her. The word hung in the air between us. Bury. So you'll help me build a case? I'll do more than that. Marcus opened his laptop and turned it toward me. I've been monitoring Victoria's activities since your father's funeral. Bank accounts, credit card transactions, social media. She's been researching arsenic poisoning, Lily. Google searches from her IP address. How to mask symptoms. How to avoid detection. She even joined an online forum about getting away with the perfect crime. My hands went cold. You have all this? Time-stamped, verified, and backed up in 3 separate locations. Marcus smiled grimly. Your sister thinks she's being clever. But she's making every mistake amateurs make. She's documenting her own crime. Can we go to the police now? We could. But here's what would happen. Victoria's a lawyer too, remember? Not a good one, but she passed the bar. She'd claimed the Google searches were for a novel she's writing. The forum participation was research. The restaurant containers can't be traced to her. She's careful about that. And your private lab results? Defense would argue contamination, improper chain of custody. It would be her word against yours. I felt my stomach sink. So what do? We let her finish what she started. Marcus leaned forward. But we control the ending. You said you've been switching the meals? For 6 weeks now. She's starting to show symptoms. Good. Here's what's going to happen. Victoria will get sicker. She go to doctors. They'll find arsenic in her system. And when they do, we're going to make sure the trail leads right back to her own front door. I don't understand. Marcus pulled out another file. I took the liberty of obtaining Victoria's recent credit card statements. 3 weeks ago, she purchased something from a chemical supply company in Oakland. Industrial-grade arsenic trioxide, marketed as wood preservative. 500 grams. Enough to kill 50 people. How did you... Your father prepared me for everything, Lily, including the possibility that Victoria might escalate to violence. He slid the statement toward me. She had it shipped to a P.O. box under a fake name. But the credit card is real. The digital trail is real. And when the police eventually search her apartment, they're going to find whatever's left of that arsenic, along with very detailed notes about dosing schedules and symptom progression. Notes she's actually keeping? Criminals always keep notes. They can't help themselves. Marcus's expression was almost pitying. Your sister thinks she's committing the perfect crime. She's actually writing her own confession. Over the next month, I watched Victoria deteriorate exactly the way I had. She started missing work, calling in sick with stomach problems. She lost weight. Dark circles appeared under her eyes. Her hands shook when she thought no one was looking. But she kept coming to my office, kept bringing food, kept playing concerned sister even as her own body betrayed her. You look terrible, I told her one afternoon. She'd brought sushi, already arranged on plates. I made the switch while she was in the bathroom, smooth as breathing now. I feel terrible. Victoria picked at her food, my poisoned food, her food from last week. I think I have what you had. This stomach thing. You should see Dr. Patel. She helped me. Maybe. But Victoria's eyes were suspicious now. It's weird though, right? That we're both sick. What are the odds? Bad luck runs in families, I guess. I took a bite of my clean sushi. Or maybe we're both just stressed. Grief does strange things to the body. Victoria watched me eat with an expression I couldn't quite read. Was it guilt? Confusion? Fear that her plan wasn't working fast enough. How are you feeling, by the way? She asked carefully. You seem better lately. I started chelation therapy. Helps remove toxins from the body. I watched her face pale. My doctor thought maybe I'd been exposed to heavy metals somehow. Environmental contamination, maybe. She says I'm almost clear now. Chelation? The word hit Victoria like a slap. Because if I was clearing arsenic from my system, if I was getting better while she was getting worse, then something had gone terribly wrong with her calculations. That's great, she managed. I should look into that. You should, I smiled. Dr. Patel could probably see you this week. Want me to make you an appointment? No, I'll find my own doctor, because of course she would. Because going to my doctor meant risking that Dr. Patel might compare our symptoms, might notice the timeline, might ask questions Victoria couldn't answer. After Victoria left, I called Marcus. She's suspicious. Good. Suspicious people make mistakes. I heard keyboard clicks on his end. I just got confirmation from my contact at the police department. They received an anonymous tip about Victoria purchasing arsenic from that chemical supply company. You reported her? A concerned citizen reported unusual purchases by someone matching her description. The police will look into it eventually. Not yet. We need her to incriminate herself more first. But the wheels are in motion. How much longer? 2 months, maybe 3. We need her sick enough that doctors run heavy metal panels. We need her desperate enough to make bigger mistakes. And we need you to stay consistent with the switches. Can you do that? I thought about Dad's letter. About Victoria's face when the will was read. About 6 months of eating poison prepared by hands I'd trusted. I can do that. But Victoria was getting paranoid. Her next visit, she brought food in sealed bags, handed them to me without opening them first. Straight from the restaurant, she said. I didn't touch anything, which meant I couldn't make the switch. Not safely. I ate a few bites, excused myself to the bathroom, and threw up everything before it could enter my system. Then I texted Dr. Patel to schedule an emergency chelation session. Victoria was adapting, getting smarter. I needed to adapt faster. That night, I went to Jenny Chen, my Q and the only person at the company besides me who'd been there from the beginning. She was 52, brilliant, and had a poker face that could shame Vegas professionals. I need to tell you something, I said, sitting in her office after everyone else had gone home. And I need you to not react. This sounds serious. My sister is trying to poison me for the inheritance. To her credit, Jenny didn't even blink. How long have you known? 2 months. How long have you suspected? Since the second time you came back from the hospital looking like death but claiming it was food. Poisoning. Jenny pulled out a bottle of scotch from her desk drawer and poured 2 glasses. I've been documenting every time Victoria comes to the office. Time-stamped photos of her entering, leaving, and what she's carrying. Figured you might need it eventually. I could have cried. Why didn't you say anything? Because you're smart enough to handle it yourself. You just needed time. She slid a flash drive across the desk. Security footage from the last 8 months. Every visit, every meal, every moment. All backed up and ready for court if you need it. Jenny, I could kiss you. Save it for when we put her away. Jenny raised her glass. To family who aren't related by blood. We drank to that. With Jenny's surveillance footage and Marcus's financial evidence, and my collection of poisoned meals. The case was building. But I needed one more thing. Victoria's confession. Not to police, not yet. But to me, I needed her to admit what she'd done on camera in her own words. And I knew exactly how to get it. 2 weeks later, I staged my collapse. Messaged Victoria that I wasn't feeling well, that I was working late alone at the office, that I might need help getting home. She arrived within 20 minutes, finding me slumped over my desk, the spy camera pen recording everything from my shirt pocket. Lily? Oh my God, Lily. Victoria's concern sounded genuine. Almost. What happened? So sick, I mumbled, playing my part. Can single quotes T. Can't keep doing this. Doing what? Fighting. Everything. Company. Dad's will. I looked up at her with what I hoped were sufficiently desperate eyes. Maybe you were right. Maybe I should step down. Let you take over. Victoria's expression shifted. Just slightly. A predator scenting wounded prey. You don't mean that. I do. I'm so tired, Victoria, and your family. You should have been part of this from the beginning. I fumbled for papers on my desk documents Marcus had prepared, worthless but official looking. I had papers drawn up. Power of attorney. If I'm incapacitated, everything goes to you. The company, the accounts, all of it. Lily, you're not thinking clearly. Please, I need you to take care of things if I can't. I pushed the fake documents toward her. Just sign as witness. In case something happens. Victoria picked up the papers with shaking hands. Shaking from her own arsenic poisoning, I realized we were both sick now, both dying in slow motion. Two sisters poisoning each other at the same dinner table. Except I had the cure and she didn't. What would Dad think? Victoria whispered, staring at the papers. If he knew it came to this, he'd want family to take care of family. Would he? Victoria looked up, and for just a moment I saw something raw in her eyes. Something that might have been regret. Even if family did terrible things? What terrible things? The moment stretched. Victoria opened her mouth, then closed it. The mask slammed back down. Nothing. Just grief talking. She set the papers down unsigned. Lily, I think we should get you to a hospital. You look really bad. I'm fine, just tired. No, seriously? You might have what Dad had. Victoria pulled out her phone, and I saw genuine fear flicker across her face. Not fear for me. Fear that I might die before she could secure the inheritance properly. Let me call an ambulance. I said I'm fine. I stood up too fast, swayed, let myself stumble against the desk. Just go home, Victoria. I'll call you tomorrow. She hesitated, torn between concern and calculation. Finally, she nodded. Okay, but call me if you need anything. Anything at all. After she left, I sat alone in my office, reviewing the camera footage. Victoria's face when I offered her control. The momentary crack in her facade. The almost confession that she'd swallowed at the last second. Not enough. Not yet, but soon. Because Victoria was getting sicker every day, and desperate people made fatal mistakes, I just needed to push her a little bit further. Make her think she was winning. Make her think I was dying. And then, when she came to deliver what she thought would be my final meal, I'd be waiting with cameras rolling and Marcus Webb on speed dial. My sister wanted to bury me for money. Instead, she was about to discover that the grave she'd been digging for 6 months had her own name on it. The final meal Victoria brought me was lobster bisque from the most expensive French restaurant in San Francisco. She carried it into my office on a Thursday afternoon, her hands trembling so badly the container nearly slipped. You look worse than I do, I observed. Victoria did look terrible. Her skin had taken on a grayish tint. Her hair was thinning. She'd lost maybe 20 pounds, and her designer suit hung loose on her frame like borrowed clothes. I finally went to a doctor, she said, setting the bisque on my desk with careful precision. They ran tests. Heavy metal screening. My heart stopped. And? Arsenic. The word came out flat, dead. They found arsenic in my blood. High levels. Like I'd been exposed for months. I let my face show exactly the right amount of shock. Oh my God, Victoria. How is that possible? That's what I asked. She sat down heavily in the chair across from my desk, and I saw her studying me with new eyes. Calculating eyes. The doctor said it had to be environmental exposure. Something I was eating or drinking regularly. Something over a long period of time. That's terrifying. Isn't it? Victoria leaned forward. But here's the weird part, Lily. You had the same symptoms. For months. And then suddenly, you got better. Around the same time I started getting sick. The air between us crackled with tension. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that it's a hell of a coincidence. Victoria's voice was steady, but I could see the fear underneath. I'm suggesting that maybe Just, maybe someone's been poisoning me the same way I. She stopped. The words hung in the air like a confession. The same way you what? I asked softly. Victoria's face went white. Nothing. I didn't. The same way you've been poisoning me for 6 months? I pulled out my phone and pressed play on a video file. Victoria's voice filled the office. The doctor said it had to be environmental exposure. Something I was eating or drinking regularly. Then my voice. What are you suggesting? Then Victoria, crystal clear. I'm suggesting that maybe someone's been poisoning me the same way I. I paused the recording. Want to finish that sentence now? On camera? Victoria stared at the phone like it was a gun. You recorded me? I recorded everything. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a file 6 inches thick. Every meal you brought. Every text message. Every Google search you made about arsenic poisoning from your home IP address. Every forum post under the username. Fairshare88 about getting away with murder. That's not you can't prove. I can prove all of it. I pulled out lab reports. 17 different meals, Victoria. 17 samples that tested positive for arsenic trioxide. The same brand and concentration as the 500 grams you purchased from Oakland Chemical Supply on your Visa card 3 months ago. Victoria's breathing went shallow. How do you? Marcus Webb has been investigating you since Dad's funeral. Dad asked him to. Actually. Turns out our father knew exactly what kind of person you'd become. I slid Dad's letter across the desk. He warned me. I just didn't want to believe my own sister could be a murderer. Victoria grabbed the letter with shaking hands, reading Dad's words. Watching her face crumple as she realized our father had known, had seen through her, had tried to save me from beyond the grave. I wasn't trying to murder you, Victoria whispered. I just wanted what was mine. $8 million was yours? It should have been. Her voice cracked. I'm his daughter too. But no, Perfect Lily gets the company, gets the money, gets everything while I'm left with scraps and a lifetime of being second best. So you decided to kill me? I decided to take back what Dad stole from me. Victoria was shouting now, tears streaming down her face. Do you know what it's like? Being the accident baby? The one who came along when he was too old to care? Watching him pour all his love and attention into you while I got nothing but disappointment? So you poisoned me. I gave you what you deserved. Victoria slammed her hand on the desk. You got everything, Lily. Everything. The least you could do was die gracefully and let me have something. I pressed stop on the recording. That's a confession. Victoria's face went from rage to horror in seconds. You're still recording. I told you. I recorded everything. I pulled out my laptop and turned it toward her. Security footage showed every visit she'd made to my office. Timestamps matched the lab reports. Jenny's documentation showed Victoria entering with restaurant bags and leaving empty-handed. Frame by frame, meal by meal. A timeline of systematic attempted murder. But the arsenic in my system, Victoria said desperately. Someone's been poisoning me too. That proves I'm a victim. It proves you're careless. I pulled out a sealed container. Remember the General Tso's chicken you ate 6 weeks ago? The pad see from last month? Every meal you brought me, I switched with the previous one. You've been eating your own poison, Victoria. Every single dose you prepared for me went into your body instead. The color drained from her face. That's impossible. Magic trick. Dad took me to see David Copperfield when I was 12. I was fascinated by sleight of hand. Spent years practicing. I demonstrated the palm and switch technique, smooth and invisible. You were so focused on watching me eat. You never noticed I was feeding you death instead. Victoria stood up so fast her chair fell backward. You poisoned me? I gave you exactly what you gave me. Justice served on your own plate. That's attempted murder. You're admitting to attempted murder. I'm admitting to self-defense. I pulled out medical records. Dr. Patel documented every instance of arsenic poisoning I suffered. Chelation therapy records show I was actively being poisoned for months before you started showing symptoms. Marcus has financial records showing you purchased the arsenic. Security footage shows you bringing the contaminated food. And I have 17 separate lab analyses confirming the presence of arsenic trioxide in meals you personally delivered. I stood up, walking around the desk to face her. You tried to kill me for money, Victoria. I just returned your gifts. The difference is, I have proof of what you did. You have nothing but your own confession on camera and enough forensic evidence to put you away for 20 years. Victoria backed toward the door. You can't do this. I'm your sister. You stopped being my sister the day you put poison in my food. I picked up my phone. Marcus is calling the police right now. They'll find the arsenic in your apartment. You hid it in your kitchen, by the way, behind the cornstarch. They'll find your Google search history. They'll find forum posts where you asked for advice on untraceable poisons. They'll find everything, Victoria. Because you documented your own crime. Please. Victoria was crying now, mascara running down her hollow cheeks. Please, Lily. I'm sick. I'm dying. You did this to me. No, you did this to yourself. I opened the door. 2 police officers stood in the hallway with Marcus Webb between them. I just made sure you reaped what you sowed. Detective Sarah Martinez stepped forward, badge extended. Victoria Chen? We have a warrant for your arrest for the attempted murder of Lily Chen. You have the right to remain silent. This is insane. Victoria tried to push past them. She poisoned me. Look at me. She admitted it. Miss Chen saved samples of every meal you brought her, Detective Martinez said calmly. 17 samples, all testing positive for industrial-grade arsenic. The same arsenic we found in your apartment an hour ago, along with detailed notes about dosing schedules and symptom progression in a journal hidden in your bedroom. Victoria's legs gave out. She collapsed against the doorframe, sobbing. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted the company. I just wanted Dad to finally choose me. He did choose you, I said quietly. He left you $2 million and 2 properties. He gave you financial security for life. Life. That wasn't enough because you didn't want security. You wanted everything I earned. The officers helped Victoria to her feet, handcuffing her wrists behind her back. She looked at me one last time, and I saw not my sister but a stranger. Someone consumed by greed and resentment and a desperate need to be valued that had twisted into something monstrous. I hope you're happy, Victoria spat. You get to keep everything while I rot in prison. I'm not happy. I'm heartbroken, and I meant it. You were my sister. I loved you. And you tried to kill me for money that Dad worked his entire life to build. So no, Victoria, I'm not happy. But I am alive, which is more than you planned for me. They led her away, her sobs echoing down the hallway. Marcus stayed behind, watching me with concern. You okay? No, but I will be. I looked at the office that had been the center of my father's dreams. The company we'd built together. The legacy Victoria had tried to steal with a spoonful of poison. Is it really over? The district attorney has enough evidence to prosecute without your testimony. But they'll want it anyway. This is going to trial, Lily. And it's going to be ugly. Let it be ugly. Let everyone see what she did. I pulled out the final piece of evidence. Dad's journals, his warnings, his desperate attempts to protect me. She needs to face what she's become. Marcus nodded. For what it's worth, your father would be proud, not of what Victoria did, but of how you handled it. You didn't let hatred make you into her. I came close, but you didn't cross the line. You defended yourself. You documented everything. You let the system work. Marcus squeezed my shoulder. That takes more strength than revenge. After he left, I stood alone in my office, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. 6 months ago, I'd been dying slowly, wondering why my body was betraying me. Now I knew. Family had betrayed me first, but I'd survived. And Victoria would face every consequence of her choices. My phone buzzed. Jenny, police just left with Victoria. You need anything? Me, yeah. Call an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. Time to announce my sister's arrest and make sure Chen Digital stays protected. Jenny. Already scheduled. I also leaked the story to 3 different news outlets. By tomorrow morning, everyone will know what she tried to do. I smiled. Jenny understood that justice wasn't just legal, it was social. Victoria's reputation, her career, her standing in the business community would be destroyed before she ever saw the inside of a courtroom. The next morning's headlines were brutal. Tech heiress arrested for poisoning sister over $8 million inheritance. 6-month murder plot unraveled by victims. Intelligence. Victoria Chen faces 20 years for arsenic poisoning scheme. My phone rang constantly. Reporters wanting statements. Business partners expressing shock. Former colleagues of Victoria's claiming they'd always suspected something was off. I gave one interview. Just one. To a reporter Dad had trusted. "How did you figure it out?" she asked. "My father warned me. Even dying, he tried to protect me." I looked directly into the camera. "And if there's anyone watching this who's being poisoned by someone they love, trust your instincts. Document everything. Get help. You're stronger than you know." The interview went viral. Within 48 hours, 3 other women came forward with similar stories. Sisters, daughters, wives who'd been systematically poisoned by family members who wanted their money. Victoria's case became a symbol, a warning, a line in the sand. And me? I became the woman who fed her attempted murderer the same poison she'd prepared, the sister who turned the tables, the survivor who refused to be a victim. If you've ever wondered whether justice can be served cold on someone's own plate, stay with me. Because Victoria's trial is about to reveal just how far people will go for money and how much further they'll fall when their crimes come to light. The trial lasted 3 weeks and destroyed what was left of Victoria Chen's life piece by methodical piece. The prosecution presented 17 poison meals, each one cataloged with lab reports and timestamps. Security footage showed Victoria entering my office 43 times over 6 months, always carrying food, always staying until I'd eaten. Her credit card statement proved she purchased 500 grams of industrial arsenic. Her search history revealed Google queries like, "How long does arsenic take to kill?" and symptoms of natural death versus poisoning. But the most damning evidence was her own voice on my recording. "I gave you what you deserved. You got everything, Lily. The least you could do was die gracefully and let me have something." The defense tried everything. Claimed I'd fabricated evidence. Suggested I'd poisoned myself for sympathy. Argued that Victoria's confession was coerced. None of it stuck. Marcus Webb's documentation was too thorough. Dr. Patel's medical records too detailed. Jenny's surveillance footage too damning. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy. The judge sentenced Victoria to 18 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole for 12. I sat in the courtroom gallery as they led my sister away in handcuffs. She didn't look at me. Didn't speak. Just walked with her head down, the woman who'd tried to inherit millions now facing a decade behind bars with nothing. After the verdict, reporters swarmed me outside the courthouse. "Miss Chen, how does it feel to see your sister convicted?" "Heartbreaking," I said honestly. "But necessary. She made choices that hurt people. Now she faces the consequences." "Do you think she deserves 18 years? "I think she deserves to understand that family isn't something you murder for money. If 18 years teaches her that, then yes. She deserves every day." 6 months after the trial, Chen Digital Solutions went public. IPO raised the company valuation to $47 million. I promoted Jenny Chen to president and Q, making her the second most powerful person in the company Dad built. Victoria's properties, the Pacific Heights house, the Lake Tahoe cabin, I sold them both and donated every penny to organizations that helped victims of family violence. $2 million that could have been hers went to people who'd survived exactly what she'd tried to do to me. The media called it poetic justice. I called it Dad's legacy finally being used the way he'd intended. To help people, not hurt them. I still think about Victoria sometimes. About the little girl who used to follow me around Dad's office, asking questions about computers and business plans. About the teenager who looked at me with such pride when I made my first million. About the moment greed turned my sister into someone I didn't recognize. Dr. Patel cleared me of arsenic 6 months after Victoria's arrest. My blood work came back clean. No permanent organ damage. No lasting effects except nightmares that woke me up sweating, remembering the taste of soup that was meant to kill me. You're lucky, Dr. Patel said during my final checkup. Another month of exposure and you might have had kidney failure, brain damage, death. I know. And you're okay with what you did? Feeding her the same poison? I thought about that carefully. I'm okay with defending myself. I'm okay with documenting her crime. I'm okay with every legal action I took to stop her. I paused. But am I okay with watching my sister destroy herself? No, that part still haunts me. Good, Dr. Patel said. That means you haven't become her. A year after the trial, I received a letter from Victoria. Prison mail, carefully screened by security. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. Dear Lily, it began in handwriting I barely recognized. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know that every day in here, I think about what I did, about the person I became, about destroying the only family I had left for money that wouldn't have made me happy anyway. Dad was right to leave you the company. You earned it. I was just too bitter to see that. Too consumed by feeling second best to realize I'd made myself that way. I hope you're doing well. I hope Chen Digital is thriving. I hope you found peace that I couldn't give you. Oh, I couldn't give you. I'll be here for a long time, learning to live with what I've done. Maybe that's my own kind of justice. I'm sorry, Lily, for everything. Volt, I read it 3 times. Then I wrote back a single sentence. I hope you find the person you were before greed destroyed you. I never sent it. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ash. Today, I run a company worth $60 million. I mentor young entrepreneurs. I speak at conferences about business ethics and family dynamics. I've turned Dad's legacy into something even bigger than he dreamed. And Victoria? She works in the prison library, earns $0, 12 an hour, and has 12 years left on her sentence. Her law license was revoked. Her business contacts abandoned her. The boyfriend she'd mentioned during those poison lunches left the moment the arrest made headlines. She lost everything she tried to steal from me, and gained nothing but time to think about why. People ask me if I feel guilty. If switching those plates makes me as bad as her. My answer is always the same. She planned to murder me over 6 months. I defended myself using her own weapon. That's not revenge. That's survival. Because here's what I learned from 6 months of eating poison prepared by someone who should have loved me. The best revenge isn't destroying your enemy. It's refusing to let them destroy you. It's taking their worst intentions and turning them into your greatest strength. Victoria wanted to bury me for $8 million. Instead, I built an empire worth 8 times that while she counts down days in a cell. She wanted me dead and gone. Instead, I'm alive, thriving, and using my story to help others recognize the warning signs of family betrayal. She wanted everything I had. Instead, she lost everything she was. That's not revenge. That's justice. And there's a difference. My father once told me that family should lift you up, not tear you down. That blood relation doesn't excuse betrayal. That the hardest lesson in business is knowing when to cut your losses, even when those losses share your DNA. I didn't understand what he meant until I watched my sister led away in handcuffs, still believing she deserved my inheritance more than I deserved my life. Now I understand perfectly. To everyone watching who's ever been betrayed by family, who's ever trusted someone who wanted to destroy you, who's ever wondered if you're strong enough to survive, you are. Document everything. Trust your instincts. Don't let guilt make you ignore warning signs just because someone shares your bloodline. And remember, the person who tries to poison you often ends up drinking from the same cup. Sometimes, literally. Victoria Chen tried to kill me for money. She's now spending the best years of her life in a cell, while I'm spending mine building something Dad would be proud of. She gambled everything on greed and lost. I bet on survival and won. 3 years later, Chun Digital Solutions is worth $85 million. I'm engaged to a wonderful man who knows my whole story and loves me anyway. I've written a book about recognizing toxic family dynamics. And every single day, I wake up grateful to be alive. Grateful I trusted my instincts. Grateful I had the strength to fight back when my own blood tried to bury me. Victoria gets out in 9 years. By then, I'll probably be running a billion-dollar company. She'd be a middle-aged ex-convict with no career, no reputation, and no family willing to speak to her. That's what happens when you try to inherit your way to success instead of earning it. When you choose poison over patience. When you mistake murder for ambition. My sister wanted my life. Instead, she destroyed her own. And somewhere in that prison library, surrounded by books about second chances she never truly get. Maybe she finally understands what Dad tried to teach us both. Family is supposed to protect you, not poison you. And when someone violates that sacred trust, they don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve exactly what they tried to give you. Victoria gave me 6 months of arsenic poisoning. I gave her 18 years to think about why that was the worst decision she ever made. Some people call that cruel. I call it survival. Because the only thing more dangerous than a sister who wants you dead is a sister who almost succeeds. I made sure mine never got that chance. And if you're sitting there thinking about someone in your life who might be slowly destroying you, trust your gut. Document everything. Fight back smart, not angry. Because the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting everything they tried to take from you and building something beautiful with it while they watch from behind bars, realizing too late that they buried themselves. That's my story. That's my justice. That's how you survive family betrayal and come out stronger on the other side. If this resonated with you, if you've ever faced something similar, drop a comment below sharing your story. Sometimes knowing you're not alone is the first step toward taking your life back. And hey, if you want more stories about justice, survival, and people who refuse to be victims, you know what to do.